Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock. As we go into the weekend, John Ramdeen, Robin Black, and I will get you set for all the fights going down on Saturday night. We'll also hear exclusive comments from UFC strawweight Jessica Aguilar, as well as World Series of Fighting president Ray Sefo. Anthony Johnson draws a new opponent for September, and John Fitch is set to return later this year. Jessica Aguilar will make her Octagon debut on Saturday night on the pay-per-view portion of UFC 190 in Rio de Janeiro when she meets Claudia Gadelha. It's expected the winner will be in line for a championship fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. We spoke with Aguilar earlier this week to break down Gadelha's style and why she feels she will be the one getting the victory in Brazil.
Well, that she's strong. She doesn't like to get punched. And, she gasses out within the first 2 rounds. So, obviously, my last year, I fought championship fights. I went 2 5-rounders, defended my title twice. So my conditioning is amazing. And I continue improving my all-around MMA skills every time I go into a fight. So, I'm really confident about this fight, and I'm just really excited to be here and to get my first win in the UFC.
ESPN is reporting that Anthony Johnson will not be fighting Jan Blachowicz on September the 5th in Las Vegas at the UFC 191 card. Instead, it appears that Jimmy Manuwa will now be taking the fight with Johnson. A specific reason was not given for the opponent change, as Blachowicz is still expected to fight on the 191 card. World Series of Fighting will present their own show on Saturday night from Las Vegas and airing on Fight Network in Canada and internationally. Company president Ray Sefo joined me earlier in the week to chat about the main event as welterweight champion Rousimar Palhares defends his gold against Jake Shields and commented on the reputation that Palhares has acquired over the last number of years.
I think his past fights, people have criticized him, and obviously they're watching him closely because of his past. But for example, his fight against John Fitch, there was some people thought he held that too long. I actually went and talked to the referee right after the fight and asked, what he thought of the fight and what did he think that he held it too long. The ref said to me, he specifically told both fighters that if they go for a submission, do not let go until he puts his hands on them. And that's exactly what happened. So in my view, and from the talking to the referee, Palhares, played by the rules.
And finally, World Series of Fighting has announced their main event for their 24th card happening on October the 17th in Connecticut, as John Fitch will meet Yushin Okami, who is cutting down to 170 pounds. Fitch last fought in December, where he was submitted by Rousimar Palhares and then failed his post-fight drug test and was suspended for 9 months by the California State Athletic Commission. Okami is coming off a loss to middleweight champion Dave Branch last November, where Okami challenged for the gold. Saturday night, we are back with a 1-hour pre-fight show at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, getting you set for the entire main card from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's John Ramdeen, Robin Black, and myself counting down to UFC 190. Here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black, a very World Series of Fighting theme to the news today. Between their main event they've announced in October, Ray Sefo, and then 2 former World Series of Fighting competitors in Anthony Johnson and Jessica Aguilar. Are you stoked for Saturday night's card? This is, I think, one of the better main events they have presented in their close to 3-year history now.
I agree 100%. Yes, I'm very excited. Love Jake Shields, love Palhares because he has a story behind him. And, people are always interested in, is this guy going to do some damage if he holds onto the heel hook too long? But I think for the hardcore fans, I think, this card is very interesting. You have Khabib's brother on the card. It was supposed to have Thiago Silva on the card versus Mike Kyle from American Kickboxing Academy in a fight, that was going to deliver fireworks. So I just think it's a very interesting card for the World Series of Fighting, and I'm sure the hardcore fans are going to love it. So if you don't want to pay for the pay-per-view, UFC 190, and you already subscribe to Fight Network, you get some great fights.
Yeah, and if you do want to pay for the pay-per-view, you watch us at 7, we'll break it down. And in those little momentary boring ones, like the tough Brazil guys or whatever, you can pop over to Fight Network and we'll have some good fights on. It is a crazy thing, a year and a half, 2 years ago, for us to be sitting here talking about a pre-show for the UFC and as a secondary option against a pay-per-view. It's crazy what has happened here over the time, and it's pretty cool.
In terms of the main event, it is a 5-round main event. I think conditioning-wise, you have to lean Jake Shields should this fight go that distance. But, with Rousimar Palhares, everyone knows what this guy's strategy is, and he's able to pull it off. And I think that's part of the intrigue, not to mention the fact that these past transgressions, whether you want to hold it against him or not, it's interesting to see how elite grapplers are going to handle him, and Jake Shields falls into that category.
I want to hold it against him.
Yeah,
I do. I don't know why.
I understand, but yeah, I think if you look objectively, and when the referee saying that you don't let go of that submission until the referee puts their hands on you, it's very similar to the KO where people are like, oh, he didn't need to hit him. Once he hit the ground, the knockout happens, a standing knockout. The fighter falls down to the ground, like Dan Henderson landing it on Michael Bisping. Oh, he didn't need to do that. Well, until the referee steps in and breaks up the action, the fighter has every opportunity to.
I feel because there's multiple examples with this guy, and that now there's a microscope on him for every submission, and whether that's right or wrong, he is responsible for gaining this reputation among people. But let's not shield ourselves, pardon the pun, to the fact that people are interested in this. They want to see if this guy is going to be dirty in a fight.
Exactly.
I know why Jake Shields doesn't like him. I know why all or very many fighters do not like him, and it's because there's a certain sort of unwritten rule, and that is, yes, by all means, you do everything you got to do until that ref's in there. But this guy, sure, maybe against
Mike Pierce lost considerable amounts of time in his career.
And
you miss a fight cycle. I mean, that's not cool at all. Like, you should be able to, if you get caught in a submission, you tap, it's over. There shouldn't be any thought in anyone's mind that a tap is not going to end this.
Yeah,
True,
absolutely.
but at the same time, we can look back in history where guys say they didn't tap. Where there's a tap that happens and a fighter lets go and then somebody comes back. And
sure,
I
you can, and that is true. But in this guy, this Palhares guy has been dirty. He's repeatedly. So if it was like that one time where you weren't really sure, but this is undeniable. And like Ray Sefo was saying, well, that's looking at the past. But that's why Jake Shields is pissed at him. That's why other fighters look, because guys like this are outside of the code of what's supposed to be going on in there. You fight until it's over. You fight until the ref pulls you off. You fight until that submission and the ref puts his hand on you. He fought well beyond it, and he hurt people. And he hurt the other fighters that are part of the same brotherhood he's part of.
Quick thought, just in terms of what you expect in this main event involving Ronda Rousey and Betch Correia. I mean, what kind of reception do you feel that Betch Correia is going to get? Because I think a lot of people are expecting that Ronda is going to be going in as the big villain into this. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I don't think these fans are putting their head in the sand here thinking Betch Correia has any prayer.
No, I think they all realize they have a star. Just like when I was in Vegas, Conor McGregor transcends mixed martial arts. Everybody was there to support him. Everybody will be there to support Ronda. Even Minotauro said, oh, it's exciting to be on the same card as Ronda because she elevates the level. Yeah, Honda.
Honda Housey will win this fight.
All right, we will have much more previewing UFC 190. Tune in Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we count down to UFC 190. But right now, we have more of Fight News Now Extra.